Good morning, class. We continue with our chapter agriculture. Agriculture, we know, was the first occupation of man. The word agriculture has been derived from two Latin words meaning ager meaning field and culture meaning cultivation of field. Now, it is not just simple cultivation of field. You just sow a seed and a crop comes up. There is a science to science and art of cultivating the soil and producing crops, raising livestock, and performing other associated activities with agriculture. Then we learned about the factors influencing agriculture. The major two factors were the physical inputs. In physical inputs, we learned about topography and relief, climate, and soil. Then we learned about human inputs. Now, in human input, we learned about the social, cultural, and economic aspects, ownership of land, farm size, mechanization, and availability of power. These are the important factors which also influence the kind of agriculture which is taken up in a particular region or a particular topography. Then we learned about the different agricultural practices in the world. Then I told you to by heart this particular flow chart which shows different types of farming. So there are two types of farming, subsistence and commercial. Subsistence is for one's own consumption. Under subsistence farming, we have primitive and we have intensive. Under primitive farming, we have shifting cultivation and nomadic herding. All this we learnt about. Then we talk about commercial farming. Under commercial farming, we have extensive plantation and mixed farming. So we learnt about subsistence farming. We learnt about shifting cultivation, where a particular crop or land is cultivated for a couple of years, and when it loses its fertility, it is left barren. Now, one important aspect of this is that no fertilizer or manure is added to increase the fertility of the soil. In nomadic herding, we saw that the people along with their livestock move from harsh land to a better prospective land where the herd of cattle can graze. Meadowlands they are looking for. So during the summers they go high up in the mountains. Now when we are talking about this nomadic herding in India, we are talking about Rajasthan and Jammu and Kashmir. We all know that in Rajasthan not much of grass is available because the land is not arable. Then we learnt about intensive subsistence agriculture. In this, traditional methods of cultivation are practiced, and that too on small plots. The land holdings are small and traditional methods are used. Then in extensive subsistence farming also, intensive subsistence farming also depends on the humidity of the climate, depending on what kind of climatic conditions are prevailing over there, whether there are enough sunny days, whether the moisture content in the air is good for the crop or not, how much natural rainfall, or is it erratic or is it regular. So all these features go a long way in predicting a good crop. Then we learned about the commercial farming. So when we talked about commercial farming, we learned about that it is extensive, plantation and mixed farming. So we have learned till extensive farming, where large tracts of land are cultivated using machineries. Human labor is there, but the use of human labor is minimal, whereas the use of farming machinery is to the maximum. Now today we will learn about plantation farming. Now last video when we were learning about extensive farming, I'll just like to add, then when we were talking about extensive farming, it is mostly taken up in the grasslands which are known as by different names in different countries. Prairies of the United States, the pampas of Argentina, and in Australia you have the downs. So children, these these are the areas where farming is mainly mechanized. Now, in areas where the soil is fertile and the alfalfa grass is extensively grown, but the land is not flat, the topography of the land is not flat, so in such areas, cattle are reared. Sheep, goat, buffaloes, all these are reared for commercial exploitation. Now, coming to plantation farming, I want you to turn to page number 50. Commercial cultivation of a single crop based on a typical tropical climatic condition is termed as plantation farming. So whatever you see underlined, please make sure you underline that. It is done on a huge plot of land where cropping, harvesting, processing, sorting and packaging activities are all done within the campus. The plantation farming thus is also known as estate farming, because everything is being carried on right from plucking of the fruit or harvesting of the crop till packaging. It is all being done on the same premises. Skilled manual labor, developed transportation and supply of pesticides and fertilizers are very important to get the quality product. It was originally introduced by the British in its colonies. The main plantation crops are tea, coffee, sugarcane, rubber and bananas. These crops are meant for export and are the source of much needed foreign exchange for the developing country. In modern plantation, scientific techniques are applied for growing crops. Now children, coming back to a little bit of explanation about plantation farming. Let us take up tea plantation. You all know that tea is cultivated on slopes. The tea plant does not, it requires lots of water, but it should not be stagnant. Otherwise, the roots they do begin to rot very easily. Now, all this, when we are talking about picking of tea leaves, the first buds, they are picked up and then they are processed right there where the tea estate is. They have small rooms or big rooms depending on the size of the tea plantation, and it is packaged over there so as to retain its freshness. If it loses its freshness, then the product will not be of such high quality. Same goes for coffee also, children, and sugarcane. Now, when sugarcane is harvested, from the time it is harvested till the time it is taken to the sugar mills for extracting its juice, the time in between these two processes should be minimal, because sugarcane, when cut from its root, quickly begins to dry up. The sucrose content in the sugarcane dries up. So it is very important that as quickly as possible, as soon as possible, the sugarcane needs to reach the sugar mills and be immediately processed, meaning to say the juice should be extracted. Now, so I think this much is enough. This much of explanation is enough as of now. Now, first let us do the mixed farming. The livestock rearing and commercial grain farming carried out in combination with growing vegetables, flowers and fruit is called mixed farming. So when such a type of farming is practiced, then what are people doing? They are rearing livestock like hens and ducks for eggs and their meat. The cattle are reared, goat is reared, buffaloes, cows are reared for not just for meat but also for milk products. Then the leather is used for in tanneries for producing leather goods. Then at the same time, vegetables are also being grown. These days focus is on using less and less of pesticides and insecticides and using less chemical fertilizers. So focus is on growing. Such kind of farming is called organic farming, where you use natural fertilizers or natural pesticides or insecticides to safeguard your crop. Now at the same time, alongside vegetables, flowers and fruits are also grown. Now these farms, such farming is called mixed farming. These farms are found in areas of fertile lands as well as on the hilly slopes. This type of farming prevails in India and other developed countries like US, South Africa and Australia. Now this kind of mixed farming is not just at maybe I have the place where I live is very rich, the soil is rich and fertile, and I have fondness for growing for growing cultivating crops, so I can do that for my own consumption. It is not a subsistence farming only, it is carried on for earning cash as well. Now before we go to crops, I want you to focus on page number 50. Now, in India, crops are classified into 3 groups on the basis of seasons. Please write important over there. This is very important. You should know the different kinds of crops which are grown in India, and that too based on seasons. Kharif crops sown in April or May and harvested in August, September. Examples are rice, jute and cotton. Rabi is a winter crop which is sown in October and November and harvested in February or March. Examples are wheat, mustard and sugarcane. Zaid crops mostly in the intermittent period of summer and winter. So when the land is lying barren, when there is no other sowing of crops taking place, so that in between period, the vegetables and fruits which are grown in this particular land or in this particular season are known as Zaid crops. So most important are Kharif and Rabi crops, because people who grow vegetables and fruits, they are not on the whole or in a general manner or in a regular manner, they are not practicing commercial farming or on an extensive scale. So all these plots of land are locally cultivated, and this kind of farming is generally an intensive subsistence farming where the extra produce is sold in the markets. Now I will not take up crops in this video. We will do crops in the next video. Till that time, I want you to please revise the chapter once more, and you have to give a thorough reading to all the topics that we have covered up till now. If there is something which you have not understood, please note it down and we'll discuss it when the school reopens. Thank you.